An unexpected connection, a forbidden kiss, and a love that defies time. Will they risk everything for a chance at happiness? It's a bustling event, filled with the chatter of colleagues and acquaintances, but somehow, amidst the noise, his attention is immediately drawn to her. At 25, he's fresh out of college, bright-eyed with ambition, but his heart carries a weight he can't quite place. She, on the other hand, stands effortlessly apart from the crowd. At 42, she exudes a quiet confidence, wearing a smile that reflects experience, grace, and a lifetime of stories untold. There's an aura around her, a magnetism that draws him in without her ever trying. Her beauty is not what catches him first, it's the way she carries herself, like someone who's seen the world but doesn't wear it on her sleeve. He notices her across the room, seated at a small table by the window, papers spread out in front of her as she scribbles notes. There's something hypnotic about her focus, the way her fingers move gently over the paper, her hair falling perfectly around her face. She looks up briefly, her eyes catching his for a fraction of a second, and then she's back to her task, never breaking stride. But that one fleeting moment, those eyes with their soft warmth, pull at something deep within him, something he can't quite name. Curiosity takes over. He finds himself walking toward her, though every step feels like a leap. There's a nervous flutter in his chest. He can't decide if it's excitement or uncertainty. At this age, he's always been careful, calculated, thinking that relationships, especially the ones that carry weight, need time and careful consideration. But there's no denying the pull he feels toward her. He stands at her table, unsure of how to begin. She looks up again, this time with a knowing smile, as if she expected him. There's no discomfort in her gaze, just a calmness, a serene kind of presence. The moment is silent, but it's not awkward. It's something more profound, like the air between them is thick with something unspoken. "Is this seat taken?" he asks, his voice steady despite the rush of thoughts and emotions he can't quite sort through. "No," she replies with a soft laugh, motioning to the empty seat across from her. Her voice is warm, smooth, like honey. It has a calming effect, one that seems to melt away the tension that had been building inside him. As he sits, he feels the distance between them close in a way that is almost imperceptible but undeniable. He can smell the faint trace of her perfume, a subtle mix of jasmine and sandalwood, and it catches him off guard. He doesn't expect it to linger so strongly, to wrap around him like a comforting blanket. They speak briefly, at first, exchanging pleasantries. But as the conversation shifts, a quiet shift happens in the air. The conversation moves beyond surface-level introductions, diving deeper into shared interests. She speaks with such sincerity that it feels as if she's laying bare pieces of herself that most people keep hidden. She's not just a woman, she's an entire world waiting to be discovered. He realizes he wants to know more about that world, but he holds back. The moments between them stretch long, and with every passing second, the space between them feels smaller. Her gaze, direct and unwavering, makes him feel seen in a way that he hasn't in years. She's not just noticing him, she's understanding him. There's no rush, no pressure. It's as though time has stopped, just for them. As the conversation slows, there's a long pause where both of them just sit there, content in the quiet. His mind races, full of questions, about her, about them, about the subtle connection that he feels between them but can't quite explain. Does she feel it too? Is it just his imagination, or is there something deeper stirring? Before the moment can stretch too far, she stands, a soft smile gracing her lips. "It was nice to meet you," she says, and her voice carries a weight that feels like a promise. His heart beats a little faster. "It was nice to meet you, too." But as she walks away, he feels something linger in the air between them, something neither of them has named yet, but both can sense. The meeting may be over, but something has already begun. Something neither of them is prepared for, but that will unfold in time. The following week brings them together again, this time at a quieter event, a small gathering of colleagues in a cozy cafe, the hum of casual chatter in the background. He wasn't expecting to see her, but when his eyes find her across the room, he's immediately drawn to her again, as though she's a magnet pulling at him. She's sitting at a table by the window, her coffee cup cradled between her hands, and for a moment, she looks out the window, lost in thought. The sight of her, so poised and serene, catches him off guard. It's the same feeling he had the first time they met, that inexplicable sense of connection. He hesitates for a moment, unsure whether to approach. There's a sense of calm surrounding her, a quiet aura of independence that makes him feel unsure of himself. She seems untouchable, not because she's distant, but because she feels like someone whose world is already so fully formed, so complete. What could he possibly offer that could make her notice him beyond the surface? But then, she glances up, and their eyes meet again. This time, there's no fleeting moment, no turning away. Instead, her gaze lingers, and a soft smile plays at the corners of her lips. It's gentle, welcoming, unspoken, but clear. She remembers him. Without a second thought, he finds himself walking toward her, his heart beating faster than it probably should. He tells himself that he's just being friendly, that this is nothing more than a simple conversation between two colleagues, but as he approaches her table, he can't ignore the flutter of anticipation in his chest. "Mind if I join you?" he asks, his voice a little more unsure than he'd like, but the words feel natural all the same. "Not at all," she responds, her voice steady and warm. She moves slightly to make room for him, her body language open but unhurried. Her ease only makes him more nervous, though he tries to hide it. He sits, and for a moment, there's a strange, comfortable silence between them. The air feels charged with something, though neither of them says it outright. He takes a sip of his coffee, unsure of how to start the conversation. He could ask about work, about the project they'd both been involved in, but somehow, it feels too formal, too impersonal for the tension that's building between them. "So, how've you been?" he finally asks, his voice sounding almost like a whisper, as though testing the waters. It's a simple question, but the weight behind it makes it feel more like a revelation. Her eyes soften when she looks at him. "I've been good," she says, her voice lighter, but there's something deeper in her gaze. She's not just responding with pleasantries, she's answering him, really answering him. "Busy. You know how it is." He nods, but his mind is racing. He wants to say something, anything, more, but words seem to fail him. Instead, he focuses on her eyes, trying to understand the things she's not saying. She's wearing a hint of vulnerability beneath her confidence, and it draws him in closer. As they talk, the conversation flows naturally. They speak of books they've read, places they've traveled, and dreams they've held on to. But with every shared sentence, there's something unspoken hanging between them. Every smile, every glance feels heavier, more significant than it would in any normal conversation. There are pauses, moments where they both seem to linger in the same space, aware of the closeness but unsure of how to proceed. When she reaches for her coffee, her fingers brush his, just lightly, so softly, he almost wonders if it was intentional. But in that brief, quiet touch, everything changes. The simple act of her skin against his sends a wave of warmth through him, his pulse quickening. He feels the electricity between them, undeniable and immediate, and it takes all his willpower to keep his gaze steady. She looks at him, and for the first time, he notices something in her eyes, a flicker of something deeper, a recognition of the connection they share but neither of them is willing to name yet. She's just as aware of the tension as he is, but she's not running from it. She's savoring it. Her smile is slow, almost secretive, as if she's holding on to something between them, something they both know is there but can't quite touch. She tilts her head slightly, the motion so subtle that it's almost imperceptible. But to him, it feels like an invitation, a challenge, even. "Do you ever feel like you're standing on the edge of something you can't quite see, but you know it's there?" she asks, her voice soft, as if she's not just talking to him, but to herself as well. He pauses, taken aback by the question, but the answer seems obvious. "All the time." She leans back in her chair, looking at him with a gentle, knowing gaze. Me too. For a moment, they both sit in silence, the weight of the conversation settling between them like a promise unspoken. Neither of them is willing to move forward, but the tension is undeniable. They both know this moment, this connection, will linger long after the conversation ends. And as the afternoon drifts by, they realize that neither of them is in any hurry to let it go. A few days later, they find themselves working late together in a quiet corner of the office, surrounded by papers and half-empty coffee cups. The rest of the office is empty, the faint hum of the air conditioning the only sound in the otherwise still room. There's a sense of calm, almost intimacy, in the solitude they share. This is a different kind of connection, one built on shared purpose, yet laced with a subtle undercurrent of something more. It's a project they're working on together, and while the work itself is tedious, there's something about being in her presence that makes the long hours seem a little less burdensome. She's absorbed in her notes, her brow furrowed as she writes, yet there's a quiet beauty in the way she focuses. The flicker of the desk lamp casts a soft glow on her face, highlighting the elegant curve of her jaw, the quiet intensity in her eyes. She doesn't notice him watching her, too caught up in the details of the task at hand, but he can't help himself. There's something so captivating about the way she works, so graceful in her focus, that it draws him in every time. His eyes linger on her, tracing the lines of her face, wondering what it would be like to know all the things she keeps hidden behind that composed exterior. She's always been so composed, so sure of herself, yet there's a softness to her, a tenderness in the way she moves, in the way her fingers caress the paper when she writes, that speaks volumes about the woman behind the facade. Eventually, the silence between them grows heavier, not uncomfortable but full of unspoken words, and he shifts in his chair. He's been waiting for a moment, for something to happen, but he doesn't know what it is. All he knows is that there's a palpable tension building between them, something unnameable but real. He clears his throat softly, his voice breaking the quiet. "You're still working, huh?" he says, his tone light, though there's a quiet longing in the question. He's not sure why he asks, only that he wants to break the silence. She looks up at him, meeting his gaze for the first time in what feels like hours. The moment their eyes connect, there's an unspoken understanding between them, something deeper than any words could convey. For a brief moment, neither of them speaks. It's just the two of them in the quiet room, the weight of the air between them palpable. Her lips curve into a soft, knowing smile, and without saying a word, she pushes her papers aside. She leans back in her chair, stretching her arms above her head, the movement fluid, natural, and graceful. When she lowers her arms, she meets his gaze again, her eyes lingering on his for a moment longer than usual. It's a quiet invitation, an acknowledgement of something unsaid between them. "I suppose we both deserve a break," she says, her voice light but warm, carrying a trace of the tiredness that's crept into her tone after hours of work. He nods, a small smile tugging at the corners of his lips, but he doesn't immediately respond. Instead, he takes a deep breath, unsure of what to say, but feeling the pull between them grow stronger in the stillness. It's like they're both standing on the edge of something both delicate and profound, but neither of them is willing to step forward just yet. Her gaze softens, and for a brief moment, he catches a glimpse of something vulnerable in her eyes. It's fleeting, but it's enough. Enough to make him realize that she's not just the confident, composed woman he's come to admire. There's a fragility to her, something hidden beneath the surface that she doesn't reveal to anyone. She's not just the professional, capable woman, she's someone with depth, with fears and hopes and desires that she keeps locked away. Without thinking, he reaches for the jacket draped across the back of his chair and stands up. "Here," he says, his voice low. "You look cold." He offers her the jacket, not out of obligation, but because he wants to do something, anything, to close the distance between them, to offer her some small comfort. She looks at him for a moment, her eyes reflecting the light from the desk lamp, and for the briefest of moments, their gazes lock in an unspoken exchange. Without a word, she stands and steps toward him, taking the jacket from his hands with a soft smile. "Thank you," she says quietly, her fingers brushing his as she takes it. The touch is brief, but it sends a ripple of warmth through him, making his heart race slightly faster. He watches as she drapes the jacket around her shoulders, the soft fabric falling naturally around her frame. There's something intimate about the moment, something more than just a simple act of kindness. The way she looks at him, eyes soft, lips barely curving into a smile, makes him feel seen in a way he hasn't felt before. There's no need for words now. The gesture, the touch, the lingering gaze, everything between them has been said without a single sentence spoken. And in that quiet, tender moment, they both understand. They're not just colleagues anymore. Something deeper is starting to form between them, and even if neither of them fully knows what that is yet, they both feel it, unmistakably. She settles back into her chair, her body closer to his than before, her warmth a silent invitation. The moment hangs between them, thick with meaning, yet still tender and uncertain. Neither of them is ready to rush it, but neither can ignore it anymore. The evening stretches on, but in that stillness, they both know something is changing. Something soft, something real. The days following the quiet, tender moment of shared silence have been filled with a subtle, palpable shift in their dynamic. The office is still the same, busy, full of deadlines and projects, but the air between them feels charged with something unspoken. The moments of stolen glances and light touches have turned into something deeper. She's been distant, though not in a cold way. More like someone who's been holding something back, unsure of whether to step forward or retreat. Then, one evening, after another long day of work, she pulls him aside. There's a quiet urgency in her demeanor, something that signals this moment is different from all the others. His heart skips a beat as she approaches him in the hallway, away from the chaos of the office. There's a vulnerability in her expression that he hasn't seen before, something raw, something unguarded. "Can we talk?" she asks, her voice softer than usual, the words carrying a weight that wasn't there before. He feels a jolt of nervous anticipation in his chest. "Of course," he says, his tone steady, though his mind races with uncertainty. What's going on? What does she need to say? They walk together to a small break room, away from the prying eyes of their colleagues. It's quiet here, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound between them. She stands near the window, looking out at the city below, her posture tight, as if she's bracing herself for something. He watches her, unsure whether to speak or wait for her to begin. Finally, she turns to face him, her eyes filled with a mix of apprehension and something else, something deeper. "I've been thinking about everything," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. "About you. About us." He feels his heart rate pick up, the nervous flutter in his chest growing. He opens his mouth to say something, but the words feel inadequate. He doesn't know how to respond, how to acknowledge the growing tension between them. Instead, he just listens, hoping she'll share what's on her mind. "I know there's an age difference," she continues, her voice trembling slightly, "and I know I've been holding back. But I can't ignore how I feel. And I don't want to keep pretending that everything's fine, that it's just a simple friendship between us." Her words hit him like a wave, and for a moment, he feels as if the ground beneath him has shifted. The vulnerability in her voice, so raw and honest, makes his chest tighten with emotion. He's been feeling it too, the pull, the connection, the undeniable chemistry, but hearing her acknowledge it out loud makes everything feel real. He takes a step closer to her, his voice soft. "I don't want to pretend either. I feel it too. I've felt it for a while." Her eyes flicker with surprise, and for a moment, it's as if time stands still. The words they've both been avoiding are finally out in the open, and there's no going back. "I'm scared," she admits, her voice shaking slightly. "Scared of what this means. Scared of the complications. Scared of hurting you. Of hurting myself." He doesn't respond immediately, his mind spinning with 1,000 thoughts, but all he can focus on is the way she's standing there, open, honest, vulnerable. It's more than he's ever seen from her. The strong, confident woman he's come to admire is standing before him, bare in a way that makes his heart ache. I get it, he says softly, stepping closer still. But I can't ignore this, either. I don't want to lose what we have. Whatever this is between us, I'm willing to take the risk. Her gaze softens, and she lets out a shaky breath. I want to believe that, she murmurs, her voice quieter now. But I don't know if I'm ready for what that might mean. I'm not sure I can handle it. He reaches out, gently cupping her face in his hands, his thumb brushing lightly over her cheek. You don't have to handle it alone, he says, his voice steady, filled with quiet reassurance. We don't have to figure it all out right now. But I'm here. I'm here for you, no matter what. The touch of his hands on her skin sends a shock of warmth through her, and she feels the walls she's built up begin to crumble, piece by piece. She leans into his touch, her eyes closing for a moment as she breathes in the calmness of his presence. It's in that moment, as they stand there in the quiet room, that something shifts completely between them. She feels his sincerity, his unwavering support, and for the first time, she doesn't feel alone in her fear. She's not the strong, self-sufficient woman she's always been, she's just a woman who's been carrying too much on her own. And for the first time, she's ready to let someone else in. Her hands find his, gently interlacing their fingers. The simple act is a gesture of trust, of vulnerability. She looks up at him, her gaze filled with both uncertainty and longing. I don't know where this will go, she whispers, but I don't want to walk away from it. Neither do I, he replies softly, his voice steady. We'll figure it out together. The weight of her confession, of his response, hangs in the air between them, a moment of emotional rawness and quiet understanding. Neither of them has all the answers yet, but in this moment, they know they're not alone anymore. And for the first time, they allow themselves to believe that whatever happens next, it will be worth the risk. The office is quiet, the kind of quiet that makes everything feel still, as if time itself is holding its breath. The evening has settled in, casting a soft glow through the blinds. There's no one left except for them, just the two of them, the weight of the unspoken connection between them growing with each passing second. They've spent hours working together, but as the clock ticks on, neither of them seems eager to leave. He watches her across the room, her focus intent on her laptop, the faintest line of concentration on her forehead. Her hair falls loosely around her shoulders, the soft glow of the desk lamp catching the strands in the most delicate way. There's an ease in the way she moves, her hands graceful as she types, the way she adjusts her glasses slightly when she's deep in thought. And yet, there's also something else there, something deeper, something he can't quite place but feels undeniably drawn to. She looks up then, and their eyes meet again. This time, there's no turning away. This time, the air between them is charged, heavier, filled with a quiet electricity. Neither of them speaks at first, as if they're both waiting for the other to make the first move. The space between them feels intimate, the distance closing with every heartbeat. He feels it, the tension that has been building between them over the past few weeks, the moments of lingering glances, the subtle touches, the shared silences. It's all led to this moment. He can't ignore it anymore. Slowly, he stands, the decision feeling as if it's been made for him. His heart races as he crosses the room, every step bringing him closer to her. When he reaches her side, he doesn't say anything. Words seem unnecessary now, pointless even. All he can focus on is the way she's looking at him, intently, quietly, as if she's waiting for him to make the first move. And then, without thinking, he leans in. It's a small movement, but it's enough. He brushes his lips gently against hers, light, tentative, almost as if testing the waters. She freezes for a moment, but then, as if instinctively, her hands move to rest lightly on his chest, her fingers warm through the thin fabric of his shirt. Her response is just as soft, just as tentative, but it sends a shiver down his spine. The kiss deepens just slightly, and the world outside fades away. The office, the work, everything disappears. All that matters is the warmth between them, the connection that pulses with every beat of their hearts. He feels a rush of emotions he can't describe, a mixture of excitement, relief, and something deeper, something raw and real. The kiss is tender, exploratory, and it's enough to make him realize that this is just the beginning of something bigger. When they pull away, it's not with a sense of finality, but with the understanding that something has shifted. There's a new awareness between them, an acknowledgement of the feelings they've both been trying to deny. Neither of them speaks at first, but the silence is different now. It's not uncomfortable, it's filled with promise. She smiles softly, her breath still slightly unsteady from the kiss. "I've been waiting for that," she says quietly, her voice barely above a whisper, but the words land with an undeniable weight. And with that simple admission, the tension that has built between them for weeks is finally released. The world outside doesn't matter anymore. What matters is the quiet understanding between them, the shared vulnerability, and the unspoken promise of what's to come. You have not enough humanizer words left. Upgrade your surfer plan. The days following their first kiss have been filled with a mixture of tension and anticipation. The atmosphere between them has changed, undeniably so. They both feel it, the weight of what's been shared, the vulnerability that's been exposed, but neither knows how to proceed. There's no roadmap for this kind of connection, no set of instructions for navigating the complexities of an age gap romance, especially when the world around them insists on seeing things differently. She's been distant, though not cold. She continues to be the composed, graceful woman he's come to admire, but now, there's something more, something that seems to push them further apart rather than pull them together. Her smiles are a little more forced, her glances a little more fleeting. She's withdrawn, as if caught between the desire to explore this connection and the overwhelming weight of everything else, the judgment, the risk, the uncertainty. He feels it too. He tries to push past the awkwardness, to keep their conversations light, casual, but it's becoming increasingly difficult. Every time they're in the same room, there's an invisible wall between them, something that wasn't there before. He can't quite place it, but he knows it's there. It feels like a wall she's built, and he's standing on the outside, unable to break through. One afternoon, as they sit together during a quiet break at the office, he can't stand it anymore. The air is thick with unspoken words, and the tension is suffocating. He's been patient, but now, he needs answers. He needs to know where they stand, if anywhere. "What's going on?" he asks, his voice low, but firm. "Why are you pulling away?" She looks up at him, her expression softening. There's no defensiveness in her gaze, but there's a vulnerability there that she doesn't usually show. She hesitates before responding, clearly struggling with something. "I don't know how to do this," she admits, her voice barely above a whisper. "I want to, believe me, I do. But I don't know how to make this work. The age difference, the judgment, the fact that I'm not who I used to be. I'm not the carefree woman I once was." Her words strike him deeply, and he feels a pang of sympathy for her. She's always been so strong, so sure of herself, but he can see it now, the cracks, the fear she's been hiding. She's not just afraid of their connection, she's afraid of the potential fallout. "You don't have to be who you were," he says softly, reaching out to touch her hand. "You're not alone in this. I'm not asking you to change or be something you're not. I just want to be with you. Whatever that looks like." She looks down at their intertwined hands, the warmth of his touch comforting but also stirring something deeper inside her. The hesitation is still there, but it's mixed with a longing, one that she's been trying to suppress. "I'm scared," she says, her voice breaking slightly. "Scared of losing myself in this. Scared of what people will think. But mostly, I'm scared of hurting you." His heart aches at the sincerity in her voice. He's always known that she carries a heavy burden, one that she doesn't often share with others. But now, in this moment of raw honesty, he realizes just how much she's holding back, not just from him, but from the world. "You won't hurt me," he says, his voice steady, reassuring. "I'm not going anywhere." She looks at him, her eyes searching his face for any sign of doubt, but all she sees is sincerity. There's a quiet strength in him that steadies her, anchors her, and for the first time, she allows herself to believe in what they could have together. But as she meets his gaze, she knows the road ahead won't be easy. The world will judge them, question them, and force them to confront the differences between them every step of the way. But maybe, just maybe, it will be worth it. Because despite all the fear, despite all the complications, she feels something in her heart that tells her they can make it work. Together. The struggle isn't over. But in this moment, with their hands still entwined and the vulnerability shared between them, she finally feels ready to take that next step, whatever it may be. The days following their first kiss have been filled with a mixture of tension and anticipation. The atmosphere between them has changed, undeniably so. They both feel it, the weight of what's been shared, the vulnerability that's been exposed, but neither knows how to proceed. There's no roadmap for this kind of connection, no set of instructions for navigating the complexities of an age gap romance, especially when the world around them insists on seeing things differently. She's been distant, though not cold. She continues to be the composed, graceful woman he's come to admire, but now, there's something more, something that seems to push them further apart rather than pull them together. Her smiles are a little more forced, her glances a little more fleeting. She's withdrawn, as if caught between the desire to explore this connection and the overwhelming weight of everything else, the judgment, the risk, the uncertainty. He feels it too. He tries to push past the awkwardness, to keep their conversations light, casual, but it's becoming increasingly difficult. Every time they're in the same room, there's an invisible wall between them, something that wasn't there before. He can't quite place it, but he knows it's there. It feels like a wall she's built, and he's standing on the outside, unable to break through. One afternoon, as they sit together during a quiet break at the office, he can't stand it anymore. The air is thick with unspoken words, and the tension is suffocating. He's been patient, but now, he needs answers. He needs to know where they stand, if anywhere. "What's going on?" he asks, his voice low, but firm. "Why are you pulling away?" She looks up at him, her expression softening. There's no defensiveness in her gaze, but there's a vulnerability there that she doesn't usually show. She hesitates before responding, clearly struggling with something. "I don't know how to do this," she admits, her voice barely above a whisper. "I want to, believe me, I do. But I don't know how to make this work. The age difference, the judgment, the fact that I'm not who I used to be. I'm not the carefree woman I once was." Her words strike him deeply, and he feels a pang of sympathy for her. She's always been so strong, so sure of herself, but he can see it now, the cracks, the fear she's been hiding. She's not just afraid of their connection, she's afraid of the potential fallout. "You don't have to be who you were," he says softly, reaching out to touch her hand. "You're not alone in this. I'm not asking you to change or be something you're not. I just want to be with you. Whatever that looks like." She looks down at their intertwined hands, the warmth of his touch comforting but also stirring something deeper inside her. The hesitation is still there, but it's mixed with a longing, one that she's been trying to suppress. "I'm scared," she says, her voice breaking slightly. "Scared of losing myself in this. Scared of what people will think. But mostly, I'm scared of hurting you." His heart aches at the sincerity in her voice. He's always known that she carries a heavy burden, one that she doesn't often share with others. But now, in this moment of raw honesty, he realizes just how much she's holding back, not just from him, but from the world. "You won't hurt me," he says, his voice steady, reassuring. "I'm not going anywhere." She looks at him, her eyes searching his face for any sign of doubt, but all she sees is sincerity. There's a quiet strength in him that steadies her, anchors her, and for the first time, she allows herself to believe in what they could have together. But as she meets his gaze, she knows the road ahead won't be easy. The world will judge them, question them, and force them to confront the differences between them every step of the way. But maybe, just maybe, it will be worth it. Because despite all the fear, despite all the complications, she feels something in her heart that tells her they can make it work. Together. The struggle isn't over. But in this moment, with their hands still entwined and the vulnerability shared between them, she finally feels ready to take that next step, whatever it may be. The tension between them has finally reached its peak, and the unspoken weight of their connection has been carried long enough. The quiet distance they've placed between themselves in the days following their difficult conversation has only made them both more aware of what's at stake. Neither of them wants to let go of what they've found, but the path forward has been unclear, until now. It's late one evening when the moment arrives, when the uncertainty between them is finally broken by the simple act of coming together. They've both been avoiding each other's gaze, unsure of how to face the growing feelings between them. But as she enters the office after a long day, she finds him standing by the window, looking out over the city, as if lost in thought. There's a heaviness in the air, but it feels different now, like a quiet storm waiting to pass. He turns as he hears her approach, and for a moment, they just look at each other, no words, no explanations. The vulnerability of their past conversations still lingers in their minds, but something has changed. There's a soft understanding between them, a quiet realization that whatever fears and doubts they had, they've worked through them together. I've been thinking, he says, his voice low but steady, about everything we've said, about where we go from here. Her heart skips a beat at the sincerity in his voice. She steps closer to him, her gaze never leaving his. Me too, she admits, her voice quieter now, filled with the weight of everything she's held back. I don't want to hide anymore. I don't want to keep pretending that this thing between us doesn't matter. Because it does. More than I've allowed myself to believe. Her words hang between them, and for the first time, there's no hesitation in her. She reaches for him, her hand resting gently on his arm. The simple touch is enough to stir something deep inside him, a reminder that what they have isn't just a fleeting connection. It's something real, something worth fighting for. He gently takes her hand in his, holding it like it's the most precious thing in the world. I'm not going anywhere, he says softly, his voice filled with quiet determination. Whatever happens, I'm here. And I'm not afraid of what people think anymore. I'm not afraid of us. Tears fill her eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming sense of relief that washes over her. For the first time, she feels like she can truly let go of her fears and allow herself to be vulnerable with him. She steps into his embrace, her arms wrapping around him as she rests her head against his chest. The warmth of his body against hers is grounding, and for the first time in a long time, she feels safe. He pulls her a little closer, his hand gently stroking her back, as if to reassure her that this moment, this connection, is real and steady. We'll take it one step at a time, he whispers, his breath warm against her hair. But I promise, we'll make it work. Together. She lifts her head to meet his gaze, her heart racing, and in that moment, there's no more doubt. No more fear. There's only them, only the two of them, standing together in the quiet after the storm. The world outside may continue to turn, but in this moment, nothing else matters. Slowly, gently, he leans in and kisses her, the kiss soft and tender but filled with a depth of emotion that neither of them has been able to fully express until now. It's not a kiss of uncertainty, but a kiss of acceptance, of understanding that no matter the challenges they'll face them together. When they pull away, they don't need to say anything. The kiss, the quiet assurance in each other's presence, speaks everything that words cannot. They've found something in each other that no one else can replace, a love that, despite its complications, is worth every step of the journey. As they stand together in the warmth of the evening, the city lights glowing softly in the background, they both know that this is just the beginning. Whatever the future holds, they are ready to face it, hand in hand, knowing that they've built something real and lasting. And for the first time, they can fully embrace the future, not as individuals with separate lives, but as two hearts that have found their way to each other.